Today we speak with homeopath Paula Lattimer, who specialises in treating autism and autistic spectrum conditions. She has completed training as a cease therapist in 2010 and then went on to train in Ton Jansen's detox method. She now weaves classical homeopathy with this amazing system of detoxification in order to remove toxic blocks so that classical remedies can work to their maximum effect. During this time, she's had the privilege of working with countless wonderful families, and her work expanded to treating children with all sorts of complex issues. A large part of Paula's work includes supporting families with children and young adults with violent and challenging behaviour. Paula has personal experience of autism and complex health issues, and this has created a passion and a deep understanding for the difficult situation an increasing number of families find themselves in. Autism is on the rise at an alarming rate, and homeopathy offers so much hope. So I really urge you to share today's episode with any family and friends who you feel will benefit from this episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Welcome to the Homeopathy Hangout, where we discuss all things homeopathy from around the world. And now my mum and your host, Eugenie Kruger.
Hello, homies, and a very warm welcome to Homeopathy Hangout. Today we get to speak with the lovely Paula Lattimer from the UK. Welcome, Paula.
Hi.
So lovely to have you on today. You have got a really cool story for how you were introduced to homeopathy. I wonder if you can share that with our listeners.
Okay, so it's kind of there's been different stages my leading into homeopathy. I was so blessed, and I don't know what possessed my mother to do this, because it certainly wasn't her world. I'd sort of floated around on antibiotics until I was 12 with throat conditions, and she took me to a homeopath, and it was transformative. That was it. I actually haven't seen a doctor for 47 years.
Wow.
That was it. Like one session. And it wasn't even a series of appointments. It was like, went to a homeopath. Saw somebody called Janet Meldrum, actually, who's some homeopaths on here might remember. She was fabulous. And yeah, it changed my health. And then until I was 30, I was really healthy. And then I started having my children actually at 28. My daughter was fine, no issues. But my son, he actually had problems even through the pregnancy. That's a very, very nice story. I was advised to terminate that pregnancy, and he is now 27.
Oh.
Yeah.
You hear that so often,
amazing.
hey?
I know.
I know. Good on you for listening to your instincts. Tell us that story.
I know. Yeah, but with a happy ending. And, all the way through the pregnancy, I was told, you're going to lose him, but you won't know it. You'll come to us and we'll tell you your baby's dead. And then at birth, they said he's only going to survive an hour because like his kidneys are so large, his lungs aren't going to be able to expand. And then I gave birth to him, and he was this beautiful 10.25-pound baby. And the medic's view was, you've got days rather than weeks. That turned into weeks rather than months. And we will watch this. And when his kidneys fail, then we'll act. And because of my previous knowledge of homeopathy, I thought, I can't just sit here. There must be something I can be doing. And I actually wrote a letter to Miranda Castro. And
you won't believe this. I spoke with her just this morning. She's going to be on the podcast next week, and we had a little chat this morning.
I thought, I should write her another letter and tell her what happened, because I wrote her a letter, because it was even pre-emails and things. It was like proper, write a letter and post it.
Wow.
And sent a photo of my son, of this beautiful baby, and said, this is my beautiful baby, and he's so healthy, and they're telling me this can't be how this is, that it's not going to work out. What can I do? Who could I see? She was the only person I knew who had written books around pediatrics and homeopathy. And she referred me to Nikki Paul here in the UK, who was then ended up being she was the principal of the college I ended up training at. And Nikki was incredible for us as a family. Like, we knew nothing. We were so vulnerable. And she just picked us up and she put us on the right path, and she changed everything. And by the time my son was 4 and he was still defying all the prognosis and the gloom and doom, I thought, okay, I want to understand what, because homeopathy had changed everything. And I thought, I need to understand how this happened. Didn't think I'd be a homeopath. I just thought actually, I need to take my spotlight off him. I was a real sort of helicopter mum at that point and very hypervigilant about him. So I thought I need to leave him live a healthy childhood and shift my focus and have something for me. So I went to study homeopathy, and I sat there in the first lecture. And you know, when you just know, just tingles all over my body going, I love it.
Yep, I know that feeling.
Yeah, like I get this inside out and back to front. I know it, you know, and I just loved it. And then it was a 4-year training. And in the 4th year, oh my God, my son's health, because his health had morphed into other things. So his kidneys were fine, but he had very complex health issues all the way through. And I decided I had to home educate him, because I just went, do you know what? He's healthy at home. As soon as I try and put him in a school, his health goes crazy. So 7 till 11 years of age, I home edited him. But I started that in my final year training. And I was like, oh my God, all this hard work, and I'm not even going to get to be a homeopath. Whoa! And, but it took me into a world of all these amazing families that had children with complex issues, and a lot of children who were on the spectrum, on the autistic spectrum, and they would never cope in mainstream, but they didn't need to be in special schools. So the parents were choosing to just do it their own way. And it was incredible. We kind of set up a small school, and we had about 30 children, and we pulled resources. We rented a lovely site out in the woods, and we pulled resources on tutors. So the children still spent more time playing in the woods than they did sitting in a classroom.
You're giving me goosebumps. That is unbelievable.
It was great. It was a really special time. And what happened was I was almost like the resident homeopath there. So 9 out of 10 of my supervised cases were children with complex needs and or on the autistic spectrum. And I put my son back in school at 11, and I thought, oh, this would be interesting. Like, my work's going to really change and I'll attract something different. But it just never happened. And so over the years, so 18 years now, I have worked with children with complex needs, you know, primarily on the autistic spectrum, but PANS, PANDAS, the whole shebang, you know. And it's great. It's beautiful, beautiful work. And every now and then I've sort of gone, oh, I'm done with autism. I just don't want to work with autism anymore. And then the universe sends me a whole, like, you know, hurricane of new patients that are all autistic. And it's like, no, know your place. You're doing what you're told to do. So I now surrender to that. And I just love my work. I'm really blessed.
That's amazing. And just by the way, that is one of my favorite introduction to homeopathy stories ever. That was so beautiful. And just you can just see like how the universe is.
I'm a bit nervous. I feel like I'm talking a million miles an hour. I will slow down as I settle down.
No, that was absolutely beautiful. Now, with families with children with autism, when you manage to heal that child, it's not just the child that benefits, it's the entire family, because these families with children with complex health issues, it's a full-time job, you know, like going from appointment to specialist. And often with the behavior and the things that are associated with it, it affects every single member in the family. So it's not like an autoimmune disorder or if the child has chronic ear infections or something like that, where it's kind of just that child that almost suffers with things like, you know, OCD and PANDAS and autism. It's the whole family that really bears the brunt of it. And so if you can make that difference in the life of that child, it's the whole family and sometimes the whole community that actually, you know, has a flow-on effect of that. If you have that child with autism in a mainstream school, all the other kids in that class are affected by it as well. So really the difference that you're making, Paula, in these families' lives and the community's lives are so amazing. So yeah, between myself and the universe, we'll keep on like nudging you and making sure that you stick with us, because it's so needed. And if you look at the rates of chronic disease in children these days, it's only going up. It's not going down, which is very, very scary.
It is shocking, isn't it? You know, I mentioned to you earlier, this research group that I'm in, and the 4 of us are all overwhelmed and inundated with the amount of new patients. And it's all children. We all specialise in autism. That's crazy.
It is really crazy. Now, one of the tools that you have in your, or one of the arrows in your quiver is the homeopathic detox therapy that you use with these families as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? We have had Roger Savage on and a couple of other people, but for, some people, when they've discovered this podcast for the first time, they listen to the newest episode and then work their way back. So, for those listeners that don't know what homeopathic detox therapy is, do you want to tell them a little bit about it and how you use it in your clinic?
Yeah. So I had worked with autism for about 10 years before I came across detox therapy. And at that point, I was working constitutionally, obviously, miasms, organ drainage was a lot of the work I was doing. And every now and then, I'd bung somebody an MMR 30 or something like that, but not a systematic approach. And it really frustrated me that there seemed to be a plateau. And I knew, because of what had happened with my son, I knew the power of homeopathy. And I knew that if you can cure, really complicated, heavy pathology, that you can cure autism. So it's like, so what's holding it back? Why isn't this going the full mile? So then I happened to come across Tina Smith's book. And it was at a time, because my son ended up on the spectrum, and it was at a time where things were really difficult with my son and very much at breaking point. He was violent and abusive and very turned outwards with his autistic behavior and always very verbal, but, I don't like this whole high functioning, low functioning business because, high functioning brings just a whole different set of problems with it. But in any case, I read the book with him in mind and thought, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And so I got supervision. I wasn't trained in detox therapy at the time, got supervision to detox him from an antibiotic he'd been on for 6 months at the beginning of his life, from day one, trimethoprim, horrible, murky antibiotic, and ran the detox, and it just changed everything. I mean, at that point, he was 14 in age 8 clothes. He was so malnourished and not thriving. His health was atrocious, didn't have a single friend, life did not work. And it wasn't like a flash in the pan, like going through the detox, there wasn't a lot of gains, but it was in the 2 to 3 months afterwards that he just grew and everything just changed. So I thought, wow, I need to train. So I went off to train in it. So I trained in cease therapy. And then I also did some training with Ton Jansen with the homeopathic detox therapy, as he called it back then, and Kim Kalina. And so then I started weaving it in, and it's just such an integral part of what I do now. And even with because although I work with the original starting point is the child with needs, but I love working with the wider family, and I work with grandparents, parents. I just love spreading that out and working with the whole family. So I'll work with other issues like with the mother or something, and the contraceptive pill detox. It's just incredible. I mean, it just moved mountains. So the detoxes are relevant for anyone, although the starting point was about autism, but they're highly effective, like the Holy Grail, the goal is always about the constitutional, but it's an obstacle to cure, like the toxins, the viruses, the home environment, the parents' relationships, the emotional well-being of the parents. Those sort of things. And I think for me, my biggest focus is the well-being of the whole family. I love that. I absolutely
agree. I always say to the mums, because us mums, we usually bring the kids in first, and then, leave ourselves to last. But actually, if the mums come in first, that makes such a huge difference. And I always say to my clients, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 5. Because it's fine if you bring a child in, but if you come in as well, I get a whole other picture of what this child needs. And I've just got a little boy at the moment with autism as well, who hardly eats anything. I mean, he has like 1 or 2 things that he eats, and he refuses to drink any water at all. And then as I was chatting with the mum, it turns out in her pregnancy, she had such severe hyperemesis that she couldn't eat or drink anything. And I said to her, isn't that interesting that your son is displaying the symptoms, but this is actually what you had during your pregnancy? And she was like, oh, I never thought about that. And I said to her, please come in for a consultation because I need to take your full case and deeply understand your mental emotional state during your pregnancy, and not just during your pregnancy, but just who you are as a person, so that I can help your son better. Because it's not just him, he was part of your body for 9 months. So, your whole symptom picture is part of his picture. So, just for the mums
it's huge
listening.
Though, isn't it? I was working with a mum recently, and she's got 2 autistic children. And both of them, it's just one step forward, one step back, and we kind of weren't getting the breakthroughs. So I started to talk to the mum more about her. And she said, I had my first pregnancy, I had an abortion. And I've always felt that these 2 children, that this was my penance, that, this was my punishment for what I did. How incredible is a breakthrough to, what a heavy energy. To be in the womb with that mother, to then that's what they're experiencing in the house, it's heavy. That's a major obstacle to cure.
Absolutely.
So I'll often say, if we get to a point where things plateau a bit, I'll often say to the mother, would you mind if we'll keep the flat fee, but if we transfer over and I'll just work with you for 3 or 4 sessions, and then we'll come back and work with your child again. And that is an unblocking, that is really, really helpful.
And often the children can't heal until, I say the mothers because I only work with women and children, but, and so much of the family's well-being is actually, centralized around the mum, as annoying as that is. I always say, I wish I could just throw my toys out of the cot and lose my cool for the day, and then not have to pick up the pieces of the whole family for the week afterwards, because the whole family's well-being relies on the well-being of the mum. It's
I can
so
remember
annoying.
being like that. Back in the old days, I'd be like, I just want to be angry and upset without everyone falling to pieces around me.
Exactly.
Want to have my own emotions.
Exactly. But then the flip side of that is when we heal as mothers, our children heal. So just for any of the mums out there listening, if you are taking your child to a homeopath and you've been resisting going yourself, please go, because it actually does help us to help your child better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we were talking about family constellations just before, and I would go to a family constellation workshop, and I'd always be working for my son, and I'd be telling them about his anger and his violence and his behavior. And I can remember they'd go to me, what about your anger? And I go, no, I don't have any.
We're perfect. What do you mean?
No, I don't have any. But, I trained as a 3 Principles of Innate Health facilitator with Ian Watson. That really shifted the focus of my business.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? What is that?
Oh God, now you know how you study homeopathy for 4 years and then people say, and I still don't know what to say when they say what's homeopathy. I've got that one nailed now, I'm fine. But when people say what's the 3 principles, I'm so blah, 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 blah. It's an understanding, it's a spiritual and psychological understanding about how we create our own experience of life. And I was working with a mother yesterday, and she was telling me this stuff, and it was all this and what if this happens, and what's going to blah 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 blah. And I said, there's the fact, and there's the story. The story is the suffering. That's all you're suffering. And that's it. You are making up your own experience of life moment by moment with your own thoughts. It's mind blowing. I went along to my first training with Ian, and life was pretty tough. I had a lot of tough circumstances at the time, and I knew something had to change. I hadn't even Googled what were the 3 principles. I just knew Ian's great. Anything he's involved with is going to be of worth. I'm going to do it. I'd wanted to do a weekend workshop, taster workshop, but instead I signed up for this thousands and thousands of pound year-long facilitator training in a whim, and went there and just sat, and everybody else was really experienced in the principles. It was supposed to be a prerequisite of the training that you already had previous experience. They had none. And they were doing that round the room thing, and they were all really happy and shiny. And I was kind of like, oh my God, I was like a bum note. Do you know what I mean? They were all resonating at a really different level than me. And I was aware of it. I was also aware of my judgment of it, which was really interesting. Look at this lot. And I was kind of like, why am I judging it? I should aspire to be like that. Look at them. And I came away, I held my hand up. I mean, Ian will really laugh if he listens to this. But I held the first weekend, I just sat there getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I held my hand up at the end and I said, can I just say, I'm going home to a violent and abusive autistic son, not because I think I am, but because I am. And Ian just sat there really casual and kind of went, well, just trust that maybe it could be different. And I came away like, Rrr. But I came home and for 24 hours, my son didn't swear or hit anybody.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, something's in this. There's something in it. And I thought, do you know what? I've tried life one way and it was pretty near. I'm going to try life a different way. I'm just going to trust this and I'm going to act as if I believe it and I have no judgment. So for the first month, all I did was watched my thoughts and went, instead of allowing them to become a story, just a thought, like it's a game of tennis, just bat it away.
Wow.
And everything started to unfold and change. And it took the year. There was no big, wonderful magic moment for me. Lots of people around the three principles feels there's a moment where they get some massive insight. It wasn't like that. It was a gradual unraveling for me. But it was absolutely life-changing. And it gave me a vocabulary to be able to really help families without sounding floaty or spiritual or like I was talking about religion, that, to help them understand that there are bigger and deeper reasons why, and that there are gifts in everything. And I'm not talking the gift of autism because it's bloody hard work and awful, but there are gifts in everything. Everything is leading to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and because it had also become really apparent that whose child got better and who didn't was so random. It was so random. And it wasn't the people making the biggest rod for their back or the parents that were most tortured or, I'd have parents who were just doing everything and their child didn't get better. And then I'd have others and the parents were still taking them for a McDonald's 3 nights a week and they got better. There was no logic to that. So it helped me have an understanding, and to have peace with why some don't get better. And also it gave me something to be able to share with families that no matter what happened with their child, that they had a different experience of that. And that to me it's like, there's the homeopathy, which we know is genius and we know it can change everything. However, it isn't everybody's fate to get better. And when the parents are in a more peaceful state, that they're okay, whether their children get better or not, that they're okay. They can have a good life either way. There is a non-attachment to outcome that just really enables healing. It really resumes flow in the family. Do you know what I mean? It's like that intensity that, the intense way in which you love your children. And there's like your average love. And when you have a child with special needs, there's another whole level. And that clinging on and desperation for it to be different is a very heavy energy. And that can be a toxicity all on its own that is the obstacle to cure.
Absolutely.
And so going back into a space of just seeing health in your child and really loving them and facilitating the healing, but seeing the health in them and having joy still in them, because sometimes there's no joy left in it either. So for me, that's the bit that really fulfills me, is working with parents on that level. I love it.
That's beautiful, Paula, because what you're saying is actually not something that we've talked about on the podcast before, even though we've had several podcasts mentioning autism, but that deeper level of understanding and just coming at it from a different angle, that's very healing in itself. So are you saying that this 3 principles of innate healing is something that you incorporate when you're working with your families with children with autism? So actually helping the parents to just see things from a different angle and...
Yeah. I mean, I allow an hour for appointments. I can get what I need homeopathically, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and it leaves me the space then to just talk. And I love it. Sometimes the parents will book coaching calls separately and we'll just have some separate sessions. But there's more than one life involved when you were saying earlier about the ripple effect through a family, and it's grandparents and siblings and, so it's not a tragedy. You can have a child with special needs and still have a happy, good life. And somehow that can get lost sometimes in amongst the fixing. I think the fixing can also feel very heavy for the children.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
I sometimes wonder.
Implication, you're not good enough.
Absolutely.
I need to make you better than you are, you know, and that, to me, that's like when you have a mainstream child and the parents want them to get 10 A grade GCSEs and yet they don't feel able. You know, when you have an autistic child and you want them to be different, no matter that you're coming from a place of love, those children are just absorbing every emotion. They're so sensitive, you know, they're sucking the whole lot up, and that's a lot for them.
Oh, absolutely. And I sometimes feel like every time they're going to their disappointment, like, you know, it would be inevitable to have that feeling where you're like, well, something's wrong with me because my mum keeps taking me to these people that are trying to, you know, fix me. But it's a fine line, because, you know, some of those therapies are very needed. But if there is a lot of that, it's can be a very fine line where they can feel, okay, well, obviously, you know, I'm broken. I keep seeing all these people. So what I
worked on Zoom before the whole COVID thing, and really because I really don't like the children listening to their story being told. Yeah, I don't like it. Just over and over again reinforcing all the negative stuff and what they can't do. It's not good. But back on the 3 principles things, interestingly, within a couple of months of me being around the principles, my son walked into my office one day and was just looking out the window, and he said, you know, the problem was, Mum, that you just never realised that I could feel all you're thinking.
Wow.
I know. It's interesting, isn't it? It's like, wow.
How amazing that he could vocalise that far out.
I know. But, you know, I used to go to my own homeopath, and I used to talk about my anxiety, and I'd say, like, it's not fear, it's terror. I said, it's definitely not fear. This is another level. It's terror. He was feeling that. Like, I would have done anything. I would never have vocalized those emotions to my son, but they're just sponges, you know? So working with yourself first is really, really important.
It's so incredible that you have all this firsthand knowledge of having a child with autism, where, you know, and going through all these trials and tribulations, because I can't imagine what it's like, because I have 2 like incredibly healthy children, and I can only imagine what it must be like. And seeing so many clients in my clinic with children with autism, you know, you get to think that you know what it's like, and, you know, but you actually having all that firsthand knowledge and then having these families come and see you, it must be amazingly healing for them speaking with you and knowing that you have gone through a lot of what they're going through, which, you know, that's the principle of homeopathy anyway, like yours, like the fact that they come and see you and knowing that you've been there.
Hit by the same storm. Absolutely. And it's been amazing over the years, because I've always felt like I'm on the same path, but a step ahead in terms of my son has been growing up, and at each stage I've had more and different things to offer, you know, even in terms of, you know, the emotional side, but also understanding the education system, the legal system, what their rights are, you know, and then transitioning into adulthood, which is a bit of a big dark hole, you know, and it's, my son has been the light bearer all the way through. You know,
amazing. I have mentioned on the podcast before that book by Neil Donald Walsh, The Little Soul and the Sun. And actually, if you go on YouTube and you type it in, there's a lady there that reads it. It's about 13 minutes. And I so believe that that's basically my belief system summed up in 13 minutes. I believe that we're all here to learn from each other, and we choose our parents, and, you know, we choose what it is that we want to learn. And if in this lifetime you want to, say, for example, learn acceptance, then, you know, you make soul contracts with your children that you want them to put you in a position where you have to learn acceptance. And the only way that you can do that is to be a certain way that makes it hard for somebody to accept you. So then you can learn that lesson of acceptance. Or if you want to learn the lesson of patience in this lifetime, then, you know, being put in a situation where it's very hard to be patient, because that's the only way that you're going to learn patience. You know, you can't see the light if you are the light. So, you know, being put in situations of darkness so the light can really shine. That's a little bit.
It's interesting,
but it just made me think of that.
Someone was telling me yesterday about somebody she knows who has set up a business and the families pay a monthly subscription to keep them healthy. So in a proactive way, rather, so they don't go when they're ill and blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, yeah, but, this was our fate, our journey, and we're all such different people because of what happened. My son went through a stage, I can't even remember when, 19, 20 years of age, where he was processing and he was hovering around with depression. And he was saying to me one day about what was even the point of his life, and I was saying to him, are you joking? I said, you've changed everything. I would never have been a homeopath. I would never have worked with families with autism. Your sister wouldn't have been a teacher that worked in pupil referral units with children who are not able to cope. Like everything changed because of you. You did that. But it was so sweet, Eugenia. It makes me kind of, because I could see him like pumping up. Like I could see his self-esteem going up as I was talking about it. And he was saying, oh, so really I helped all those families. Yes, you did. Yeah, of course. Said, yes, you did. Yeah, it was all because of you. I was a marketing manager. I was a vegetarian marketing manager in a meat company.
Oh, no. Far out.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you must have been a good marketing manager then if you could be a vegetarian and market things. But yeah, how amazing that
it's fine. I don't need to drive a Rolls Royce to be able to market one. It's fine.
Yeah, amazing that that he was able to bring you in alignment with what it was that your soul really wanted to do, and yeah, that's just amazing. I think you mentioned that you might have some cases for us as well that you want to have a chat about. Yeah. I'd love to hear those.
Yeah. So I've got a few here because I've got a couple of different ages because I thought because it upsets and bothers me that the parents will often say, oh, I'd read all over the internet that if I hadn't, salvaged the situation by the time they go to school, by the time they're 5, that there was no hope. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. I'm actually working with a 40-year-old man at the moment, and he is doing so well. Like his wife had contacted me and said about treatment, and I was kind of like, I don't know, like it's all right you wanting it, but he needs it. And this is what I've never just had a wife contact me and want to set this all up. But I went with it. And at the time he was having violent meltdowns, no job, reversing day and night. They had 3 children and she was very upset about the impact on the children. So she'd made him leave the family home. And we've worked together and he's just done so well. Like he was back in the family home really quickly, no violence, no meltdowns, working 16 hours a week and part of the family again. It's great. That's just incredible. Any age. Well, with homeopathy, because you're taking the name condition out, like there's autism, but you don't have to have, it's all degree of, isn't it? You don't have to have day and night reversed. You don't have to have chronic gut pain. You don't have to, all those things shouldn't really just go with the territory,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in any case, first of all, there's a little lad that I always find it so hard not to say the names. Little lad, 5.5. We worked together. We've been working together for 18 months. During that time, there's been 9 appointments, 4 detoxes. So the detoxes have been polycontraception, polyvaccination, ranitidine, and polyantibiotics. So when he came, his speech was like an 18-month-old. So he was 5.5 with the speech of an 18-month-old. He had questionable understanding, 3 hours to get to sleep at night and then awake again by 3 a.m.
Oh, my gosh.
Very constipated, limited eye contact, zero social interaction, and very anxious. 18 months later, he's saying whole sentences. He's passed his phonics test better than the normal kids. He sleeps all night, every night, daily bowel movements. His mother said he's a normal, happy 6-year-old. So we are now
18 months. That's pretty amazing. That's amazing.
We're working on fluidity of speech, and he's a little bit noise sensitive. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? And she came about him. And then when we were working together, she said actually about the brother. So the brother was 3.5. developmentally delayed, only opening his bowels once a week, constant sore throats, anxiety, anger and aggression. So because we were working with his brother, this came up about the younger one. And I said, well, let me work with him. So he's had 7 appointments. He now has 0 delay, advanced speech, daily bowel movements, no tantrums, no anxiety. There's nothing to do. It's incredible, isn't it? I know.
That is incredible.
So that was 7 appointments, constitutional always, but 2 detoxes, contraception and vaccination, and the strep nosode for him.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
But it is incredible, isn't it? And, I say this to parents. I say, honestly, like, I can't give you guarantees, but if you sat in my seat for 1 week and you witnessed what I witnessed,
I know,
you would feel so much safer and more confident about what the future holds.
Absolutely.
Because anything is possible.
And how wonderful those families came for their follow-up appointments, because that is something that frustrates me endlessly, is when people just don't come for their follow-up appointments, because they are so important. I have a few clients with autism as well, and you just look back like 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, the ones that come regularly for their appointments, that child is in a completely different place 1 year, 18 months, 2 years down the tracks, completely different place. But they need to come for those follow-ups so we can just keep a hand on the case. And, if you leave it 6 months between appointments, I always feel like I'm kind of starting back at square one, because I've got hundreds of other clients. So if you wait till 6 months, I don't even remember who that person is. There's hundreds of other clients. So,
but also their reaction to that last prescription is completely irrelevant. It
is completely irrelevant, and they often don't even remember what happened. They don't remember what didn't happen. So you ask them, and they're like, "Well, they don't know." So. It's how wonderful.
No, I'm very blessed, actually. I have, my families tend to be very committed. There are those that weeble off, but generally I've got a lot of very committed families. And I feel that's part of the privilege of the work as well. It is the amount of like the dedication and the love that I witness all the time. Another little boy, 6 years old, he was in America, and we started, so we've been working together 8 months. He's had 4 appointments. Now, they were a very, very broken family, and the mum was very interested in the 3 principles. So right from the beginning, she started, I always send links, because that's free all over YouTube. So I send links to relevant talks. So she had got involved with that, which was amazing. We've only run 1 detox with him, vaccination one. So when we started, he had words but didn't use them. He was depressed. It was very strange to see it in a little lad. Completely blank, no motivation, no opinions. Bowel movements were dark and toxic. Gross motor skills were very poor. No bike riding, no jumping, very sensory. Worst of all was he was very malnourished and skinny. He was only drinking smoothies, no solids at all.
Wow.
8 months later, his weight's at an all-time high. He's very happy and engaged. He seeks his parents to play. Speech is coming along. She's been the sweetest lady. Actually, she'd sent me an email saying, after the poly vaccination, saying, I remember being so anxious and terrified of any temporary behaviours that might come up during detox process. Just wanted to provide an update that we're on week 2. So only on week 2, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see my baby the way I remember him prior to the diagnosis coming back to me.
Aww.
I know.
That's just priceless, hey? And homeopathic treatment, if you compare it with so many of the other treatments like naturopathy, where families often have to buy hundreds of dollars of supplements every single month, or even just make it super clear, I love naturopaths. I work with them all the time. I love chiros. I work with them all the time, and we all need to work together. But just contrasting the difference in fees, for example. So a chiro, you often have to go to weekly for months and years on end, and it can be so costly. If you go to a naturopath, it's hundreds of dollars of supplements every time. For a homeopath, I see you work like me, whereas every 2 months, because the detox series that we do takes 8 weeks. So often we see our clients every 8 weeks, because then the detox series is finished, and then we can, see how much of that layer has been removed and where we go from there. So I'm guessing it sounds like you work in a similar sort of way.
It's quite similar. And I always say to new families, in an average year expect to have 9 appointments. And so it gives them an idea of what they're budgeting for.
Absolutely.
So
and if you work that out
about
per
8 or
week.
9 appointments. And, and I also am really clear at the beginning, I would expect you to commit for a year in order to be able to feel like you're on a different playing field. That doesn't mean you wait a year to see gains. But it is a commitment. It's a process,
And if you work that out over a week, like the cost over a week with those appointments, and our remedies are so cheap, sometimes we throw them in free, or they might be, over here it's about $15, $16 or whatever. It's just one of the most cost-effective treatments out there with some of the most remarkable results. I mean, I don't understand why somebody wouldn't give homeopathy a go.
But it's also a lovely process, isn't it, Eugenie? It's a pleasure. I know when my son was ill, I'd go to the homeopath and I might go in feeling really low and nothing had changed. We just had a consultation, but I'd come out just feeling so much lighter and better and more positive and more able to cope. And the process is lovely. And then when you go home, it's not some horrible saga expecting children to engage or do anything they don't want to do. I have loads of kids and I have to send a packet of blank remedies because they want to have one a day. And then,
I sometimes have to give blank remedies to the siblings because they're jealous that they don't get to take little pills if there's only one chance they would see me. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
So, Paula, are you still taking on new clients?
Do you want one more case?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So another lad, this is a 14-year-old, and we've been working together 12 months, 6 appointments, 3 detoxes, HPV vaccine and polyvaccination, and we're just starting the antibiotic detox. So at 14, he's essentially nonverbal, very slow understanding, no focus, running up and down, ritualistic behavior, wetting himself day and night, many attempts at toilet training, wakes 40 minutes after going to bed, puts all the lights on, and then is up and down all night and the whole family's disturbed. Bowel movement is every other day and he strains and then it's very insufficient. So 12 months later, he's not hyper, no more running around. He's nappy free, no wetting, sleeps all night from 9 p.m. His bowel movements are perfect. He's feeding himself, engaging with academics. He can sit and focus. He enjoys and looks forward to his swimming lessons. He sings songs and dances. He knows every word.
How good is that?
So we're still working on slow comprehension and conversational speech. There's our goals now, But it is mind-blowing, isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Far out. That is just so beautiful, Paula. So are you still taking on new clients?
Do you know what? I was having this conversation yesterday with my research group that I work with. And there's a possibility. I'm in my head, I'm kind of working out, do I need to close my books and recruit a couple of homeopaths as a team that I can be feeding to? And, because also, I'm nearly 60, so I'm getting to the point where it's like, actually, it'd be nice to be handing this over to a younger generation, and because
you should absolutely do that. I have 2 homeopaths on my team as well, and it's so wonderful. And also with us homeopaths, we can often work very solitary. So having those homeopaths on your team is really lovely because just connecting with others and bouncing ideas off each other. And you should totally do it.
Yeah. I think the research group that I'm in, we've just loved having a group that we meet with once a month and share. And Mike Andrews is part of that, and it was Mike yesterday that was saying to me, because he's closed his books, got a bit of a team together, and he said it's lovely having colleagues.
Well, I'll have a chat with you about that afterwards as well. Okay. But how can people get hold of you?
So through my website, really, that's it. I'm not on social media. Do you know, I've never marketed anything.
Wow. You're obviously doing something right. And so it's just
It's
Paula
so funny.
Lattimer,
I can
homeopath.
remember there is a very dear friend of mine who's very well known in this country for her biomedical work with autism. And we used to dog walk, and I'd be saying something and I'd say, yeah, no, I think I'm going to do this with the business. And she'd say, so how are you marketing that? And I go, I'm just putting it out there to the universe.
That's the best marketing you could do ever, which is actually funny
so
considering your
funny.
marketing background.
I know, it is funny, isn't it?
So Paula Lattimer, homeopath.co.uk.
That's right. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. And if if you just put my name in and go on my website, you can link through with an email from there, which makes it very easy.
Amazing. Well, it was seriously awesome to chat with you today, Paula. And thank you so much for your time and sharing these incredible stories with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you for inviting me on. It really has been a pleasure. It's been lovely.
Awesome. I'll chat with you very
You make
soon.
it very comfortable, Eugenie.
Oh, well, it's wonderful chat. I think as homeopaths, we already have such a huge common ground. So we're just, very lucky in that respect. But we'll say bye to the listeners, and me and you are going to have a little chat.
Okay.
Talk soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.